Recording in
United States of
progress.
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Burgess.
Present.
Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah.
Councilmember Kingsider. Here. Councilmember Hess.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Kaminsky. Here. Mayor, and the Mayor DePinto.
Here. All right, moving on to agenda approval. Can we get agenda approval? Councilmember Kaminsky.
The agenda.
Second by Councilmember Wood. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. No special presentations scheduled. We do have one public comment right now. Is there any others? Barry Miller, please step up to the podium.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, council. I just want to say thank you for the way you continue to treat the seniors in this town. And every time we have our board meeting, which was yesterday, and we see the contributions from the city, thank you for writing a check out to support us. But more than that, just how many of you people are involved in the welfare and treating our seniors like they really are somebody. And just thank you very much. It's a delight to be part of this. I never got to see this side of the city, and it's just clicks when it comes to the senior center. And thank you very much. Just held this big rummage sale, trashed the whole parking lot, and I was not too sure how all this was going to turn out. And it's all cleaned up, it's all gone, and it's $5,500 positive to the seniors. So sometimes junk isn't just junk. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone online that wishes to testify?
No hands are raised.
And do we have one more person that wishes to testify?
Yeah.
Great, just made in time.
I literally ran to my office.
Then we were ready.
All right. Okay. You want this that's half filled out? Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
Tammy Stewart. So I just wanted to chat a little bit about the improvements to 4th Street. It's where my office is. And I'm super excited that the road's going to look really, really nice. And I'm down with the one way, but I have concerns about the parking in front of my office because if the road is widened and it takes part of the front of my property, then I'm going to lose my parking spots for my patients. And if street parking is available, it's great. But if street parking isn't available at the time of a patient appointment right in front of my office and a patient has to park down the block, that could be a problem for somebody who doesn't walk well, who's coming in for physical therapy. So I just have concerns that I wanted to express. I was encouraged to do so earlier today. So I just wanted to pop in and I have some ideas. So I drew a very not to scale option 1 and option 2 of things I've thought of. So happy to pass it around if you guys are interested. But the first is if we do like on-street parking on either side of my property, but not in front of my property, and just leave the parking as is, it's currently gravel. I'm happy to pave that to make it look nice and be cohesive with the road. But the sidewalk would end like at my property line, and then there would be parking there for my patients directly in front of the building, which is really important for mobility concerns. And then the sidewalk would then continue and the street parking would then continue on the other side. And that would leave pretty much my parking as is, which is working really, really well. And the other option is if I know a previous concern had been people pulling into a parking spot forward and then backing onto a road. And I know a lot of other cities have one-way streets that then have back-in only parking. And so and I'm not entirely sure which direction the one-way street is planned to go. I've heard both. So either away from Yelm Avenue or towards Yelm Avenue, but either way, you could totally do back-in parking at a slant, which would create more space. And I'm happy to facilitate that. I already have back-in parking signs in the trunk of my car right now, ready to go, if we're on board with that. So those are essentially my 2 ideas. And I mean, I drew a picture if you guys really want to see that. But
if you want to go ahead and give that to Cody, we will take a look at it. We'll try to work with you on it to make sure that it works for your business. If he doesn't follow up with you, I will by the end of the week, and we'll make sure it gets scheduled right.
Sure. And if that's just not going to work for spacing and like depth and whatnot, and we have to do the parallel parking on the street side, if there's a way that we could do designated parking during business hours for patients right in front of the clinic, that would be really, really nice for them. So that would be like option 3, which I did not draw because I had 2 sides of paper.
She brought up, and I was going to ask, is that possible due of having designated during office hours that space, that those spaces are dedicated to her clients? And then just a reminder, if I remember correct from when I was on the Public Service Committee, is that I was pushing very much for the back end parking because it, as she said, it brings up more space, but it's also a bit more on the safety side, because cars see you stop, and then when you back in, you don't have to sit there and pull in and then kind of try to figure out who's going to give you space to back out. So
Yeah, we'll take a look at it, and if it works out, we'll definitely consider it. Councilor Richardson.
I'm just wondering too, with the forestry, is there already been like conceptual plans or things made, or are we before that? Are we?
Yeah, so we have conceptuals very early, like what the design will be, because 4th Street's interesting because it's a narrower right of way. It wasn't platted right in 1926, whenever it was sent over. So it was only platted for 30 feet instead of 60. So it's the only option we have is to make it a one-way or demolish a bunch of houses. Demolishing a bunch of houses or businesses doesn't make sense. So we're going to turn it into a one-way. And the conceptuals allow for businesses, theoretically, like this could happen as long as it's on the business property. I don't see an issue with that. You would just, do a curb cut so it goes down, and then they could back into this business, and the curb cut that comes up and the sidewalk continues on. So I don't see an issue with that if it's on the business property.
And I feel like you guys do well with trying to accommodate for these requests. And so as long as, and that's why, again, it's always timing. So good job getting here. That's a good thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, if that's to implement and make some options, that would be fantastic.
No, we'll definitely work with business owners. I've worked with Tammy before, so yeah, we'll work with them to make sure that we help them out as much as possible. And I think this might have been prompted because I also warned her this street was coming up in maybe a year or 2, so she should get and talk to us when she can. So
yeah. Better now than it's off my to-do list.
Thank you, Tammy. And if you need anything else, if you can't make it, feel free to shoot us an email too.
Okay.
Respond to that.
I made it though.
Thank you so much. Anyone else online or anything? All right, let's move on. We have a consent agenda for the July 2nd, 2024 study session minutes, the July 23rd, 2024 regular meeting minutes, and the August 6th, 2024 study session minutes. Councilor Wood.
the consent agenda.
Second by Councilmember Kaminsky. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to new business. We have ordinance number 1119, special irrevocable power of attorney and waiver of annexation for water. Cody, I believe this is you.
yes, so the next 3 are all kind of related. So I'll explain the first one. If you have questions about individual ones, I'll go through that. So one thing that almost every city does, but we don't, is if someone in the UGA hooks up to city water, so that's urban growth area, that's not in city limits, hooks up to city water, we don't require anything from them except for hookup fees. One thing that we should do, and so we don't get this situation, is when we go into annex these properties, a lot of times they'll contest annexation or they'll not understand what's going on, even though they're on city water, when it benefits them to annex into the city. So one requirement we want to do before they hook up to city water is they have to sign this waiver that says that when we do annex a property, they're on board for it. Because if property changes hands over a course of years and years and years and years, this waiver would stay with the property and not the owner. So it would keep us, 5 years, generations down the line. It won't take that long, but maybe 2 homeowners down the line, they go, hey, I don't want to be in the city. Well, actually, your property has city water and this waiver was signed at time of hookup. So now you cannot protest this annexation. We're going to bring you into the city. One thing this would benefit is the owners that do sign this, they would get in-city rates for water. So right now, if you hook up to city water and you're out of city, you pay almost double the water rate that you do in city limits. So it would help them because they sign this waiver. They also get in-city rates. So they get a lower water bill. for anyone outside. They're all the same in the sense that if they hook up to sewer, they'd have to sign the same thing. If they hook up to reclaim, they'd have to sign the same thing. Usually it's water hookup, but we have had sewer hookup. The requirement right now is if you're within 200 feet of a water line or sewer line in city, you're required by law to hook up to city water and sewer. That's Thurston County and our rules. You have to do it. So no matter what, they wouldn't be able to drill their own well if they were within 200 feet. They'd have to hook up to city water. So this just goes with it. In order to hook up, you have to sign this waiver. So if we annex later, you come in the city. And they're all the same. They're just different services.
Councilor Richardson.
So then if you annex later and you want to vote on city things, you can vote on city things, right?
Correct.
Councilor Crossman.
So I understand this correctly. So we're running water, sewer, everything outside of city limits?
In UGA, yes. So we're required, if they're in the UGA and within 200 feet of a water line, they have to hook up to city services.
I'm saying, but we are currently actively trying to run these lines outside in the UGA, outside city limits currently.
No, we don't run the lines. So
I'm trying to think of how this coming into play, because if they're in the UGA, they're in Thurston County, they're on city limits, so we're not running lines out there.
they are.
Or are we?
They are. So what will happen, there are certain areas, so example, Burnett Road.
Okay.
The right side is city limits, the left side is county. There's a water main that runs all the way down Burnett Road. So if a house on the left side develops, which has happened recently, they have to hook up to city water, the line's already there. Another example is on Clark Road or Mill Road. Mill Road, the water line goes out city limits. The right side is city limits. The left side is county. If one of those people had to hook up to city water, they could just connect, they would drag it directly across. So a lot of times in scenarios like that where the line has been ran and half the road is in city and half is not. Roten Road's another good example, where half of it's in county, half's not. So they would hook up to city limits.
Prairie, a bad example.
Prairie is a bad example. But it still does work, because if those houses on Morris Road hook up, there's a water line running, they would have to hook up to that water line because it's within 200 feet. Every now and then you'll get a house that's right on the border and they have to extend the line to the property line and then hook up to that water. It's happening more and more and more over the last year and a half. So we wanted to get this in so we don't have this problem down the road when we start doing these annexations.
Councilor Hess and Richardson.
Just in reference to this, when developers are developing in the UGA, are they making requests to hook up to our systems when they are doing that? Or are they saying, nope, we're going to keep everything self-contained?
So it's been a mix, but normally when development happens, they want to annex in because they want to develop more densely. UGA doesn't allow that. We have had developers on the outskirts. So example given down 507, there's a big gap where it's not city limits. And then it gets into city limits again over right before the MPC, the master plan community down there. We had a developer come in who wanted to run the line all the way down 507, which was about 1.5 miles of water line to bring water there instead of building their own well system. Almost always they would prefer to hook up to city water because it's, in the long run, it's cheaper for them to do than it is to drill their own wells, get permits for their own wells, their own water rights.
And maintenance.
Councilor Richardson.
So I'm just trying to figure out what could be a possible dilemma here. Are there homes or developments that have been, say, grandfathered in? And is that why we're creating this ordinance, because we're having this situation?
Yeah, a big example is Tranquility Lane, which most people think is in city limits. It's not in city limits. It's right by the senior center. So right now, that whole loop is on city water, not in city limits. If you remember, we had a lady came in here in 2019, they annexed her property in. She's probably on the call right now. She annexed with 5 properties. We tried to get her to annex the properties behind them too. They all refused. If they had signed this waiver, we would have been able to annex them all at the same time. And they wouldn't have been able to say anything, which would have helped us in the long run because they're being served by city services, but we don't have them in city limits.
Councilmember Wood, then Hess.
Tranquility Lane, for example, earlier on in the discussion here, you mentioned that folks that are on city water but aren't in the city are paying a different rate.
Correct.
Does that include Tranquility Lane?
Yes.
Okay, so in a case like Mill Road, where half the street's in the city, the other half's not. One of those that's not in the city and the county, they have well issues. Their well goes down. Isn't the ordinance, if you were rule that if that happens and the water line exists, they have to tie into city water as well?
Yes, Thurston County would not let them drill a new well.
Okay, under that circumstance, right now, what you're saying is those folks would still pay that additional rate for somebody outside, even though that's what the county's requiring them to do.
Yes.
So that would be one of the major benefits for the property owners here is to do this now so they don't get caught in that situation.
Yeah, and the benefit too of this is say someone on Tranquility Lane, they'll, man, my water bill is an extra $50 a month. We'll give them the option to sign this now to lower their water bill to the in-city numbers to prevent, then we can annex those properties later. If you get enough of them, then we can do an annexation. It makes it easier in the future when we do annexations, when we have people come in, they want to protest or they don't know what's going on. It makes it smoother. Hey, you already signed this, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. So.
Councilor Hess.
I'm trying to, this is something that they have to sign. And if they say, nope, don't want to, and they happen to be in the middle of a whole group, is that going to mess up annexations in the future and other issues?
So two parts of that. First part is if they don't sign it, we're not going to let them hook up to city water. So if it's a new owner, like trying to build a house and the county's going, you have to hook up to city water. We're not gonna let you drill a well. And they come to us and go, I want to hook up city water. In order to hook up, you will have to sign this form. The properties that already have city water, we're not going to make them sign this form, but we will give them the offer to sign the form to get a lower rate. That's the first part of your question. The second part is if you get 60% of the house, the value of that area, you can have one or two homes that don't have, and you can annex the whole property that aren't part of that. And you can still annex the whole property because you have 60% valuation of the area. So, and there are other ways to annex besides what we've done in the past. And you'll actually see some of those in the future.
Other questions? Councilor Kaminsky.
Why does the the water cost twice as much? It's the same water, right? It's our water.
It is the same water, but the main maintenance of it becomes more difficult because we're now working in the county. So if we have to dig up a road, we now have to rebuild that road to county standards. We have to follow county rules to get to those pipes than we would if they were in city limits.
It's almost an incentive to get into the city.
And lastly, if property already has a drilled well, whether they're using it or not, does that get grandfathered in?
Yeah, so this is a common misconception if you annex in the city. You don't have to immediately hook up to city water and city sewer. You only hook up when your well fails. And every time that has happened, the people have been very happy to be able to hook up because now they're like, oh my gosh, I can hook up to a city water for $6,000 instead of drilling a new well for 13,000 and then hoping it lasts. They can hook up to city water. It's often cheaper, and then they no longer have to worry about maintenance of it. So it has been every time that a well has failed, the person has been very thankful that they can hook up to city water because it's right there.
But otherwise they can just keep using it.
As long as it
If they
functions.
hook to city water, could they use it as an irrigation well? Is that allowed?
If the wells failed, no, we make them,
Well,
we make them get rid of the well. And the reason being is behind it, you want as few whole points from water as possible because of contamination, right? If someone has a septic tank, their sewer is going right back into the water that their aquifer is pulling from, right? So we have a well that's centered, there's no septic around it, it's pulling, it's just safer and more healthy to have water that's farther away from those things and have a sewer system in place.
Councilor Richardson.
I'm just trying to find some good pros versus cons on why people should sign something like this. Is there a difference in property value from being within the city versus the county? And
Usually, yes. So normally your property value goes up when you're in city limits because your property is more desirable and developable, but that's not always the case. Like a big farm that wants to stay a farm, it probably makes no benefit to them being city because they're a farm, the market is farm. If they're zoned residential, maybe the property value go up. But majority of property does go up when you annex in the city, your property value is worth more.
but then you'll save money on water rates.
You save money on water rates if you're.
Vote about things within the city.
And you can vote on
In the city, you could run for city council if you're upset.
You are right. Those are all correct things. Yes.
Any other questions? Councilor Wood.
I move we approve ordinance number 1119, special irrevocable power of attorney and waiver of annexation for water.
Councilor Hess.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Councilor Palmer, was that a question?
Oh, no, I was just gonna second, so we're good.
Gotcha. All righty. Let's, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, council. Moving on to ordinance number 1120, special irrevocable power of attorney and waiver of annexation for sewer. Councilmember Hess.
I move that we approve ordinance number 1120, special irrevocable power of attorney and waiver of annexation for sewer.
Before you do that real fast, let's get a quick briefing by Cody.
Yep, same thing.
Very quick.
Yeah, same thing, but it's sewer.
Motion stands. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second by Councilor Croston. Any discussion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to ordinance number 1121, special irrevocable power of attorney waiver of annexation for reclaimed water.
Same thing, reclaim water.
Councilor Hess.
I move that we approve ordinance number 1121, special irrevocable power of attorney and waiver of annexation for reclaimed water.
Second by Councilor Palmer. I saw the hand. All right, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to professional service agreement for CEMP/CEOP plan, cooperative plan for development and completion. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thanks. I'm here to propose a motion that Mayor DePinto sign a professional service agreement, which would allow Erica Cat to develop and complete the City of Yelm's comprehensive emergency management plan and continuity of operations plan. This is something that we're required by the state. It's a 5-year plan. Every 5 years, it has to be updated and renewed. In 2019, Erica Cat completed that plan that we're currently working under today. It expires December 31st of this year. So with her knowledge and expertise to help get that through and work with me on that, we'd be able to get the next 5-year plan set in stone there and until it expires. Comprehensive emergency management plan basically is a schematic or playbook for us as a city to mitigate, prepare for natural, technological, and human-related disasters.
Councilor Richardson.
So I was just trying to gain some knowledge here. So is this like every 5 years, we got another subscription coming up for $15? That's what it seems like.
A lot of that's because of the federal requirements that are in there. Not only that is, we as a city and our structure and development needs to be in that as well. So we just need to update things. And again, the government has a say in that. Once we get this plan developed, it goes to FEMA. They give it their blessing, and then we bring it back and bring it to you.
Councilor Hess and Grossman.
Chief Carlson, is one of the other big reasons that we also are doing this is because Lacey is pulled out and acting on their own, or was that a different?
That's
different.
different.
Yeah.
Is the 5 years that state requirement?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Is that something we can do in-house?
We could, and I would love to have the knowledge, expertise, and education to do this, to develop that 72-page document. But with Erica Cat's help, to be able to streamline that and get it done is huge.
But if it's already completed, we just make an update. Is it something we just go through real quick? Like, this.
Right, we would have
Is
to
it going to be drastically different?
as far as how it's established, the plan and the different things that FEMA is going to require for us to have could very well take some time. Not only that is how we set this plan together to send it to FEMA for it to be required or to be approved, I think is something that we need to have that education and expertise with.
Councilor Wood, then Hess.
Curious, did we budget for this?
We did not.
We did not budget. Is there any grant money available for this by chance?
I'm not aware of any grant money.
But this is a state requirement or is it federal requirement?
It's state requirement.
Thanks.
You will likely see a budget amendment if this is passed. Councilor Hess.
Just to kind of clarify again, we're looking at spending $15,000. And what we're getting is somebody who has the knowledge that this is their specialty of all the new regulations, all new requirements have all been put in place, that if we did not pay them, it would be somebody from your department or from somebody from the administrative department having to research all that, actually putting in more man hours than $15,000 could pay for. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Look for a motion. Councilor Hess. Sorry. Go ahead.
I motion to authorize Mayor DePinto to sign the professional service agreement with Erica Cat to develop and complete the City of Yelm's comprehensive emergency management plan at the cost of $15,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Wood. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Crossman.
Sorry, a couple more questions to make sure I'm clear on everything here. Sorry, let me look here real quick because I lost track here. Is this online so citizens can read it, the current emergency management plan? Because
We currently have right now.
yes.
Yes.
Where is it located? I could not find it.
We will get that to you. It's online somewhere. If it's not.
Okay, because I searched the website because I wanted to read it and because it would be nice to compare, and especially since it changes how things operate in the city. I think it's important that it should be easily found on the city website for citizens to like, hey, this changes how the city operates. It should be, easily found for public knowledge, and it would be nice to see what those changes are.
Right.
What update, like I want to see where my 15 grand is going. Like I want to see some.
Perhaps we can ask Erica if she could also make a comparison, just a brief comparison to some of the big major changes on each.
And once it's completed, my goal is to have her and I just present that to you, and that's something that maybe could be brought up and discussed.
But we will put it on the website if it's not already up there, and we will make sure that you have the link to it. Councilor Richardson.
So knowing that this is every 5 years, right? Can we put like a note somewhere that we could budget for this next time? So there's not an amendment?
Good. Absolutely. All right, there is a motion and a second on the table. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Council. Moving on, motion to approve resolution number 648, declaring city-owned property surplus and allowing the sale thereof. Is this? Nino's gonna.
Next time.
All right, go ahead.
I will introduce, so behind me is Dean Norton, our operations manager. So I'm running this for him, but this will be probably his baby next time. So in front of you is a motion to declare city-owned property surplus. These are some vehicles that are no longer in use. We factor in a couple of things, because I know that'll probably be a question when it comes in. We have very high idle hours, similar to police department. So one thing we do is you may see low mileage and be like, oh, it's only got 30,000 miles. But it probably has, 17 times as many hours operating as it does a normal 30,000 mile car, because we have so much idle time. That's one factor we bring in. We also bring in factors of resale value, like when can we get the most for this vehicle, and not before it becomes a maintenance nightmare. So we had a peak where you're getting performance and the price, and then eventually that peak drops and you start paying more in maintenance than it would just to go buy a new vehicle at the point. So we factor that in as well when we do these looks at, and then also fuel economy. So vehicles are always improving to be more fuel efficient and have auto shutoffs and other things that help when they idle. And so those three things were thought of when we brought into these new vehicles. And so these are old vehicles we're no longer using. We still have extra vehicles for if we add new staff or if we have seasonals. So the idea is get rid of these, get the money back for them while they're still worth something, to apply to the vehicles we're going to be buying in the future, or apply to vehicles we've already bought to start lowering that cost.
Questions, comments? Councilor Kaminsky.
Cody, does this resolution identify that they're vehicles that you're talking about? Because this just says property.
Yeah, in the
I thought it was like a piece of land.
No, in the actual resolution in your packet, it shows the vehicles listed out by VIN and by year and by mileage.
No problem. Councilor Crossman.
What do these vehicles go for sale at? Can Joe Yelm buy one?
So they actually we sell them through, so one thing that used to happen is we used to sell them through auction, like locally, and they would go for pennies on the dollar. We now use enterprise, so they go and sell them to multiple dealers. Anyone can go and bid on those, but usually dealers do, and we get way more for these vehicles than we did when we just sold them for auction here, which it's unfortunate that people here can't make a deal, but the idea is to do the best with taxpayer money as possible. So getting more for these vehicles helps us lower the cost of newer vehicles.
So what's the rough range that we get for those?
I can tell you, last time we got a vehicle that was blue booked for about $7,000, we got $4,500 for, which is pretty good when you're selling to an auction like that. Whereas in the past, I know vehicles have sold for as little as $100 at some of the auctions we've had here, because people are like, sweet, no one's here to auction, I'll be the only one bid. And this, you can even tell us at the school, when you go to the school sale, they do the sale there. You can walk in, you can get desks for $1. They're huge desks because there's no one there. So we can hit a bigger market by using enterprise and make way more for taxpayers, which is good.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Wood?
I'm curious about because I know we've gone through this, I recollect going through this process before. And I remember being astounded at how actually little we got for these cars compared to, the market, the actual market. And I'm concerned that, some of these cars, in fact, every one of these vehicles is newer than any of the cars that I own. And I'm curious because of the low miles and things like that. I'm wondering if we can get before we move forward on this and doing this and committing to this process, I'm wondering if we can get some hard numbers on what the last round of vehicles that we auctioned off through this process actually brought us.
Yes.
These are some newer vehicles. These are some, and I have a friend that sells used cars, and I was talking to him a little bit about it, and he had some concerns as well.
Yeah, so the last set of vehicles, if you remember, we've only done this process with us one other time surplus, and it was a lot of vehicles that were in the back of our junkyard that have been sitting there for years. One was an impound vehicle. Most of them didn't run. And so the numbers we got were low because they didn't, we had to tow 4 of them away, I believe. They were all in the vehicles, I believe. They were all really old, and they're in the back of the junkyard. These are the first set of vehicles we've actually replaced with newer vehicles, and they've been using them. And so now we're getting rid of them. So it's hard to compare running vehicles to derelict, non-running vehicles that we, made a few $100 from, because they literally they would have been scrapped most likely if we just tried to scrap them. So I can tell you that from the last batch. There was one vehicle that was newer last time, and that's where we got that number. I just, mentioned the 4,500 for a vehicle that would have blue book for, $6,000-7,000. So.
But was there a 2018 did I see in there?
In this one, there is one newer vehicle that's above. It's been our workhorse kind of, and we use it for a lot of things. And so the idle hours on it is ridiculous and becoming a maintenance nightmare. So instead of, continuing to pump money into maintenance of it, we replaced it. And so now it's sitting and we're getting rid of it to try to get some money from it.
A lot of miles, about 15,000 or so.
It doesn't have very many miles, but the idle hours they are very high idle hours on all of this. And it's just because we have a small city, we don't drive nearly as much as a bigger city would, but we idle a lot because you have to when you're, sweeping or spraying or doing anything like that. So.
Councilor Hess.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 648, declaring city-owned property surplus and allowing the sale thereof.
Second by Councilor Kingheiser. Is there any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
1 nay. 2 nays. All right. Motion carries. Moving on to, thank you, Cody. Moving on to old business. There is none scheduled. Moving on to standing council committee reports, starting with Public Safety Committee.
Public safety, last week we had our meeting. The detective results are in, 3 tested, and 1 new detective was selected, and hopefully bring them on board, in particular before the school session begins, as was reported by Chief, that during the school session, a lot more detective work is required. So that's good to have.
Fast, Councilor Chief, are you ready to announce who it is? Or is that, are you still deciding?
Yes, it's Officer Brian Bard.
Thank you.
In reference to Prairie Days, everything worked out very nicely. Good feedback from people. STP, there were no major issues, and they are looking forward to when the trail can be authorized to allow them to just have 1 crossing point instead of coming through our roads. National Night Out was occurring at that time. And so from what I saw when I was there before the meeting, it looked like it was a really good thing. And so it's kind of nice to see that outreach going. With the change in the pursuit laws that occurred in the month of June, they are working on managing the increase of the pursuits that are happening, because it wasn't something that they kind of have slowly developed into. They're working on it, the training and tactics, mostly concentrating on safety. As Chief put it, you can hear the adrenaline kind of go up on the radio, and as time is going with some of the additional training, that adrenaline drops down, and they're looking more at the safety factor. So that's good for our officers. They also had active training at the high school. It was really good. It was agency training. They even had the fire department there. So, I mean, everybody got some good training out of it. We got some good kudos on that. Reference to the court updates. Right now is a great time to go get your passport, due to the fact that not so many people are requesting their passports. And for the month of July, they were able to raise $1,190. And we had some, I do want to put out there, just because it was an unusual thing, and I think it's great. Our officers are doing a wonderful job of stopping gambling in our community. We had a case of that. And so just to be aware that if you're running an office pool without proper authorization, or a poker game in the back room, please be aware our officers are on top of that. So.
Do you just briefly, do you want to mention, do you know what that was?
So in Sonia's court report, she has numbers that takes place each month. And one of the particular statutes is related to this. And we were trying to figure out what case it was related to. I didn't do any investigation on it, but it was based upon illegal gambling of some sort. So I'd have to look in to find out what case that was that appeared in our court, and how it worked out.
We're not kicking down doors for someone playing poker, are we?
Not yet.
Just wanted to say, I commend our officers for, making sure.
Just folks thinking, we're doing that.
We're
But
collecting our tax that we're supposed to get for gambling.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else for the Public Safety Committee?
Anything else?
Well, Public Services Committee.
No meeting.
All right, moving on to the Finance Committee.
We had a meeting today and Stephanie went over the proposed budget changes that'll be coming to the next meeting, August 27th. And one of those items was for this $1,500 emergency thing. So we'll be talking about that. And then she updated us that the audit is almost finished and everything's going very well. They're very happy with everything the city's done and very positive about our finance director, and all was well, and the exit will be soon. And that was it. I went also to National Night Out. I went to the Jazz Festival, and I was a judge at the Barbecue Festival. I am now a vegetarian. Thank you very much.
All right. There was some good barbecue there.
Yeah, there was.
Mayor, City Minister, staff reports. Todd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. We have our employee appreciation lunch tomorrow from 11:30 to 1 Community Center. Council's invited to come in and enjoy lunch with everyone. I'll let the mayor talk about the open house tomorrow. In the police department, they have an entry-level officer who graduates the academy on Thursday. Noah Sorensen will graduate on Thursday, 11 o'clock, 11:30, or 11 o'clock. So that'll take place up in Berrien at the academy. In the finance department, Terry already hit it, the entrance audit. We had our entrance audit briefing yesterday. Things are going well, like she reported. Also, staff is heavily involved now in the clear.gov software that council allowed us to purchase a couple months back for budgeting purposes. So we're working through the new software, and we look forward to, putting all that together and showing council what we got in there. The IT department, they're finishing up on implementation of Microsoft 365. And then there also, you may have seen the reader board when you're driven by. It's working, functioning. It's not completed 100% yet. They got some little bit work to do around it to make it look a little bit more appealing. They had to do some modifications when they put the new reader board in there, but that'll get finished up as well. In the Public Services Department, striping will occur over the next couple of weeks. It'll start over by Walmart Boulevard and take place in the city. We have a couple openings at the Public Services Department in wastewater and streets. And so far, we've had just a slew of applications coming in already just since it was posted here. So that's a very good thing. And any questions for me on anything? Yes.
Councilor Crossman.
The reader board on, like, is it on now? Was it on yesterday?
Oh,
I don't know. It was on today.
It's on, yeah.
you don't look at reader boards, it's fine.
Sorry, yesterday, so I'm like, ooh. That's why I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm right by it.
We are, I kind of want to have Cody talk real quick about the striping because it was going to be done, later this year?
Yeah, so Thurston, we usually stripe with Thurston County and we contract with them, but their schedule's been kind of a mess. So we're going to do some striping ourselves. Dean, who comes from Thurston County, has a lot of experience in striping. So he's got us off the ground, and him and Toby and our team is going to do some striping. So we don't have to wait for Thurston County.
We've heard from citizens and residents and the council about the importance of prioritizing that. So that's what we're doing. Councilor Wood.
What method do you use?
A striper?
Well, you got a truck mounted striper or you?
So we have a couple things. We have a bike that has a stripe on it, like a motorcycle that does a straight line, which is really nice. And then we have hand ones. There you go. So the motorcycle one will be our biggest user. It's a motorcycle that does really cool straight lines. Yeah. So we're using the motorcycle mostly with a striper. I know.
Tracy, you can maybe drive it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's that's just going to be interesting how you keep those lines straight.
It locks in and goes straight. We did all of our parking lots.
Really good balance. Huh?
Yeah, all our parking lots, it's like a trike. So all our parking lots we did with that striper, and I haven't heard any complaints.
You just say go.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? All right, for my report, Todd did mention that we are having our open house tomorrow, 6 o'clock to 7, or maybe a little bit later, but likely to 7 o'clock. You can stop in at any time. We'll have different stands for a few different projects that we're having, including the new state route the bypass, the Yelm Loop, roundabouts, what's going on with those, and a few other projects that we have. 640,
Veterans Memorial.
Veterans Memorial. Is there anything else?
Yep.
No.
WRF is coming along nicely,
It
though.
is coming along nicely. There'll be a thing for the comp plan. We'll be there too. The alleyway will be there too.
All right. Other than that, so I hope to see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Council is more than welcome to attend, hang out, chat with the residents. My mayor's meeting was canceled last week, but we have a South County mayor's meeting coming up this weekend, or excuse me, Friday. We just get together as the South County mayors for Yelm, Dakota, Tenino, and Rainier, talk about issues that are important for us in South County. They do the similar thing for North County, some of the Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey. They meet regularly as well. So it's something that we just started last year. I think Wayne Fournier was the one that actually started this, kind of brought us together, which has been great. Other than that, meeting with Mary Hall, Auditor Mary Hall, as well this Friday. We're going to be discussing the elections, presidential election, and some of the concerns that she might have, and give some updates on that. I'll be sure to report back next meeting. Any questions from me? All right, moving on, council member reports, starting with Councilmember Wood.
Thank you. I attended the CCOM meeting, and we are preparing I volunteered for the budgeting session that we're doing at the first part of next month. And transportation policy tomorrow has been canceled because we have an extended meeting next month. That's what I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Richardson.
Yeah, I attended, I believe it was the Skate for Calling at the skate park, and that was very good. It was awareness, fentanyl awareness. And it was actually, I'm glad I went. There was a lot of people in the community that I recognized, and I thought, wow, you don't know how close you are to people and who's lost anybody to, drugs. And until you see like, oh, I didn't know everybody knew this individual. And then you realize, wow, you're all kind of connected. So, when it hits home, it's a real big issue. So that was nice to attend.
Thank you for attending. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, Councilman Crossman.
I went to all the fun stuff, and then Steady is in Dakota this Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I want to make the public aware that we have open public parking over here. For some reason, every time I drive by, it cracks me up. There's all these people parking on a dirt lot when we paved the parking lot. So I don't understand what's going on there, why the reasoning is, but all of a sudden people are parking on the dirt.
The dirt's not striped.
Yeah, when there's a nice, beautiful parking lot. So please use it, people. Anybody who's watching, it's open public parking lot.
All right.
Pay attention to that.
Oh, that was interesting as well. Councilor King Geyser.
I was able to zoom in for SEPA for the second time, and I'm starting to recognize everyone and kind of get a grasp on how they run their meetings and relay the information. So I'll be looking for ways that I can help and support. Today, I immersed myself in local businesses and attended our Yelm Chamber of Commerce luncheon at the 507 Tap Room. We had a little bit of a kind of a field trip luncheon. It's usually at the community center, but today it was at 507. Wonderful speaker, Alyssa Stevens, brought ideas and visions, provision and focus as we manage our own business elements. And then currently working on a mini series of videos and information through our Washington State Department of Commerce to continue expanding my knowledge about growth management and planning, which fits along nicely with all the resolutions that were made today.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Hess.
With Intercity Transit Authority, things are looking good for that. The biggest news is just we didn't win the rodeo for the state, but we got second place with our drivers and our mechanics. So, they're doing really well on that. Also, they are doing some more improvements in the Lacey Olympia Tumwater bus stops in those areas. Working our way, hopefully here, to get some of our improved bus stops so that they're a little bit as nice as they are if you are driving along and see those there. Otherwise, it's business as usual. Things are going well with them. And that's about all I have at this time.
All right, Councilmember Palmer.
Yes, I was actually approached by citizens that brought up parking requirements for new developments and such, and how it's lacking. And I want to maybe get a presentation on what we can do to increase the parking requirements, because I also don't like seeing cars all over the sides of the roads and everything else. So if we could address that as a council and increase our parking requirements. I know it's not popular with developers because they don't make money on parking, but I just don't want us to become a cluster city.
All right. I know Cody probably has a couple things to say on that. Why don't we set up a meeting, Councilmember Palmer, and we can have that discussion. And then if you still feel, because there's a lot of reasons why they're at a certain limit. Like an apartment that has maybe 100 vehicles or parking spots. It's more than 100 that live there. I know it's not everyone gets one. There's a lot of reasons behind that, though, that Cody would love to explain. Let's have a meeting, though, with the three of us, or just you two. You can explain some of those reasonings. If you feel like it's still something that you think the council should address, we can bring it to a study session for the entire council or public services committee, and then go from there. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Is that it?
That's it for me. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Councilor Kaminsky.
I accidentally threw all my stuff into the finance report. So
Fair enough.
carried away.
Thanks for sharing.
All right. And then Cody, would you please reach out to Palmer? Thank you. That's all. There's no executive session, so we'll take a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Rossman.
Adjourn.
second by Counselor Wood. Is there any discussion? There is none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. We're adjourned.
You want it.
Now,